It still boggles my mind how Thor: Love and Thunder managed to underutilize Christian Bale in the way that it did. Especially when you see the dedication he has to his craft in almost everything that he does. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Scott Cooper is a director who's been on my radar for a while now. I actually think that his film Out of the Furnace from 2013 is an underrated gem that not a lot of people acknowledge. A movie that starred Christian Bale, by the way.
Impressive. Very nice.
I was really excited for Scott Cooper's previous film, Antlers, but that ended up being a bit underwhelming for me. So needless to say, his track record is a bit hit or miss. So then I heard about The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix, and another collaboration with Christian Bale, and I was instantly intrigued. The Pale Blue Eye follows a retired detective, played by Bale, as he investigates a series of grisly murders with the help of a young cadet who would eventually go on to become the world-famous author Edgar Allan Poe. Now, to be clear, this is a work of fiction and is based on a pre-existing novel. But as you're watching this movie, it is kind of interesting to think about how an incident like this or a life experience like this could have influenced the works of Edgar Allan Poe. I think what The Pale Blue Eye does well is mold the gothic tone and feel of an Edgar Allan Poe story into this story. It's almost like a movie based on Edgar Allan Poe's work, starring Edgar Allan Poe.
That makes sense.
This is definitely a slow burn type movie. Some would say that it drags. I would say it's just a bit more methodical in its approach. To me, those types of things are all about perspective. But for that reason, this movie may not keep everyone's attention. And I think being on Netflix isn't really going to help that problem either. Because if people aren't going to watch this on their phone, they'll be on their phone while watching it. In other words, I don't think a movie like this is ideal for the crowd who is programmed to receive instant gratification.
He made me this color so that I may talk. Squirrel!
That's not to say that this film couldn't have been trimmed down a little bit to make it a bit more digestible. There were a handful of scenes that I didn't find to be all that relevant or necessary to the story. As for Christian Bale as the detective, while I don't think this will go down as one of his more memorable performances, to me it was still great because Christian is a great actor and you know the work was put into it. It just so happens to be one of his more subtle performances. Although he does have a handful of scenes where he's allowed to let loose a bit more.
Swear to me!
But for the most part, it just comes off as a lot of brooding, even more brooding than when he played Bruce Wayne, actually. As for Harry Melling as Edgar Allan Poe, at first I thought he was being a bit too over the top and cartoony in the role, but Poe was a bit of a strange character, and throughout the course of the movie he does kind of settle into the role, and you do kind of get used to it. But I did enjoy the back and forth between these two characters as they try to solve this mystery.
I like it a lot.
As for the story itself, I'm a sucker for a good murder mystery. But it did feel like something was missing when looking at that aspect of the movie. A lot of the clues or discoveries came off as very convenient to me. Like, I found myself asking a couple of times, how did we get here? What made them come to that conclusion? And because of that, oddly enough, that aspect of the movie did feel a bit rushed to me. It's almost as if this story would have been better suited as a mini-series rather than a movie. I think it would have given them a little bit more time to explain or flesh out these puzzle pieces. What I really enjoyed about the movie was the cinematography. Lots of beautiful shots taking full advantage of these snow-covered landscapes. If nothing else, I think it's very atmospheric, and I think people will find it nice to look at. I think this is one of the rare occasions where I actually enjoyed the ending or the finale more than I did the journey to get there. I was feeling a little bit indifferent about the film until a certain point where things start to get revealed. And add that to the fact that there's kind of a false finish. Like, we get to a point where the mystery is solved, but there's still 30 minutes left in the film, so you're kind of wondering what's going on.
What the fuck are you doing?
And to me, that 30 minutes or so is easily the best part of the film. And honestly, I didn't see the second finale coming. Maybe the movie kind of lulled me into thinking it was going to be a bit more straightforward than it actually ended up being. Bottom line, I really kind of dug the idea of making this meta Poe story with Poe actually in it. I think it's beautifully shot and well acted. It does drag a bit in spots, and I don't know if both finales were satisfying, but at least one of them was for me. And I think it's worth giving a shot, especially if you are into these types of movies, or if you have any kind of admiration for Edgar Allan Poe. I wanted to like this film a bit more than I actually did. I think it was a well-made but somewhat flawed experience, so that's why I'm going to give it the Cathouse.
Saved by kitty litter.
Y'all be cool. Nah.